Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Payton. Got your microphone right here. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Welcome to Toronto. How does it feel to be here?
It's always a pleasure to come to Toronto. They always give me a good warm welcome. When I played here, it was always the same. So I love it in Toronto.
Now, I want to ask you about the glove. Everyone knows you as the glove. Where did this nickname come from? Can you give us a little bit of a backstory?
Well, in 1993, I was playing Kevin Johnson, who was a premier point guard at the time. And during the season, he was averaging about 25. And then when we got into the Western Conference Finals, where we was playing Phoenix, I was holding him to like 13 points. My cousin called me on to the phone talking about glove. I hung up the phone. I was like, I don't know who that is. And then all of a sudden, he called me back, and he was like, man, this your cousin. I said, why you call me the glove? He said, because you got Kevin Johnson in a mitt, with like a baseball in a mitt, and you covering him so good and so tight. And I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And then we started getting it going in the glove, and now it's one of the best nicknames ever in sports.
And one of the best defenders of all time. You played against some very tough opponents. Looking back at your career, who was the hardest person to defend?
Everybody should always know this is John Stockton. John Stockton was probably the most hardest person, or most difficult person for me to guard, because the simple fact is that he had to get the ball 94 feet, and he didn't go to a spot. He didn't do that. He come off pick and rolls. He set picks. He does things like that, and it was just very hard. And he only played like 32, 33 minutes. Next thing you know, I look up, he's got 26 points, 16 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, and then I done played 46 minutes, and I got the same stats, and we can be by 30. So I'm like, man, that don't work. So, you know what I'm saying? So he's the most difficult person.
And I can't talk to you and not mention trash talk. You are known for it. You execute it beautifully. Was that strategic, or did that just come naturally to you? What are your best trash talk tips?
I can't tell you right here. It's too many kids. I said everything, but it was both. It was strategic, and it was just came natural. Growing up in Oakland, California, in California, in the United States, that's what I had to do on the playgrounds. I had to go out and talk a lot of trash and protect myself. And then I had to get my father and my brothers to come protect me too, because a lot of people wanted to beat me up. But then all of a sudden, I got really good at it, and people started respecting me. So when I went to the NBA, I made it a point that I'm always going to get on the rookies. I'm going to always get on everybody and try to get them out their game to pay more attention to me and not to their team. And it worked. It just worked. And then I got real good at it and started getting on the referees, getting on fans. I got on everybody. And it was just fun for me. I just made it a habit, and everybody started loving it because I did it. And they would come to the games just to try to pick on me, and then I'll pick back on them.
Now, the 96 NBA Finals, everyone still talks about that run. What do you remember about that season, about that team?
Well, we had a great run. I mean, the Bulls were 72-10, and we were 64-18. People didn't know about us because the Bulls had set a record, but we were there. People don't understand. We beat them one time in the season. They beat us one time. We was one of the 10 losses they had, and we weren't afraid of them. You know what I'm saying? And we beat them pretty handily. But I thought that when we went into the finals, we were playing not to lose instead of to win. And it took too much long time. I didn't start off on Michael Jordan at the beginning. I started off on him after game 4. We beat him 2 times, and then by that time it was just too late. Dennis Rodman started playing well. Kukoc started playing well. Luke Longley was killing us, and it was like we couldn't recover from that. And they had a great basketball team. We had a great basketball team too, but we just couldn't recover. We didn't have Nate McMillan at the time. Detlef was having a so-so series. Hershey was having a so-so series. And then Sean was having a great series. But we just couldn't compete with all the athletes and all the players they had.
And later on in your career with the Miami Heat, you finally captured that elusive NBA championship. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Incredible feat. What do you remember about that year? What did it mean for you to finally accomplish that?
Well, I had a bunch of rebels on that team. It was a bunch of knuckleheads. We were knuckleheads at that. And but I think it was fun. We had a young guy in Dwayne Wade who was only in his third year. He had a extraordinary playoffs. He averaged about 35. I had to finally go, and I was the oldest one on that team. So I had to go to Shaq and tell Shaq, look, we got a young stud here. I think that we're going to win. You got to be the second fiddle. Our time is over. We got to play a role. And Shaq accepted it. And the young fella put us on his back. All we had to do was play defense and make shots. And we got people to start understanding that. Antoine Walker, the guys like Alonzo Mourning, James Posey, White Chocolate, Jason Williams. We got everybody to bite in, and we got down 2-0 against Dallas, and then we beat them 4 in a row, and so happened we won the championship.
And the NBA has changed a lot since your playing days. I would love for you to give us an insight on your perspective on the current state of the NBA and maybe what it's like to play as a defender in the NBA today.
Well, it wouldn't be good for me to play as a defender in the NBA now because I wouldn't be on the floor no time. I'd probably be fouled out or threw out all the time. But this is their era. This is the era they play. It's almost like a PlayStation era. They want to run up and down, score a lot of points. Nowadays, their weapon is the three-point line. Our weapon was the big man. We would go inside, out. We had a lot of more centers. The centers now play on the outside. They shoot threes and they do that type of stuff. You only really got two really big men, and I think that's Embiid and the Joker. And the Joker moves out because he plays all the positions. So, but I think they're in their era. They're making a lot of money. I can't knock them for it. This is what it is. The basketball, to me, is not like the 90s when I played. It was more rougher. We had more players that we around every position, and it is what it is. The reason I watch it so much now is because my son is in the NBA, and I watch him a lot with the Golden State Warriors. So, but I'm not knocking them. It's their era. It is what it is. This is where it's going to be.
Now, is there competition with your son? Is it friendly competition, or do you give him advice, or are you kind of like pushing him to try and achieve more? What's that like?
No, I leave him alone now. I've been a nag in his thorn for a long time. So I'm like, leave him alone, let him play. He figured it out. He done figured it out. He know his role with the Golden State Warriors. He's effective at that role. He's very athletic. He plays the defense the way he wants to play it. I just sit there now and watch. And everybody always say, why are you so mad? I'm not mad. I'm just figuring it out. I can't say anything because I'm thinking my way. This is the way I would have did it. You know what I'm saying? And so I leave him alone, and now he comes to me when he sees me. He'll be like, why they do that? Why they do that? I'll be like, hey, just play. It is what it is. And he fixes it out.
You mentioned there are a few kids in the audience. What advice would you give to young athletes, whether it's in basketball and soccer and baseball, that want to one day play in the professional leagues? What's your best word of advice?
I always give them, they got to have goals. And then they got to have a mindset where I tell kids when I go to camp, if I got 100 kids, I say it's only 3% of you probably will make the NBA or WNBA. We're just going to be honest. You have to be an exceptional talent to do that. So what I do is I tell them to have goals. If you're not going to be a basketball player, you could be somebody else. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, and be up here on the stage like that talking to me, talking about your profession. But never get your mind distracted by anything. You could be popular any other way. And I think that you got to work at your skills, and you got to work at it, and you got to be respectful to the game. Respect the game. Don't think that you're bigger than the game. And I think if you do that with your talent, you're going to be okay. And you're going to get a coach that's going to let you play. He's going to let you do the things that you need to do, and it's going to be fine. But you have to respect the game. Don't think you're bigger than it. I respected the game for 2 years of my career, my first 2 years in the NBA. And they were the most horrible years of my life. Sonics wanted to trade me. They wanted to do that. And then I got a coach who came in George Karl, who changed me back to my ways. And then after that, I became Gary Payton.
Now, Gary, one last question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You're regarded as one of the best defenders of all time. Who is the best defender in the NBA right now, according to you?
I always got to say my son, but I really think Drew Holiday is. Drew Holiday is probably the best defender at a guard position that I feel that can change a game. Everybody think big men change the game. No, they don't. I think they just change the game when you go into the basket and they block shots. I think a player who can change the game, who can get out and disrupt the offense and don't make them play an offense, is the best defender. And I think that's Drew Holiday.
Amazing. Well, Gary, thank you so much for your time, for giving us your perspective, and for the visit to Toronto. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Toronto fans. Appreciate you guys.
Gary Payton,
always,
everybody.
Always a pleasure.